Steve, I don't want to forget this. Can you give this to Steve, please?
Stop asking. I didn't want to eat much yet.
Oh, I know, it's all good.
Hope you don't mind. I shared the other one that you had.
But it's suited for royalties. Bum 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 Mimale kol almin V'sovev kol almin Umi baladecha Ein shom metzius klal Memale kol almin V'sovev kol almin Umi baladecha Ein shom metzius klal Memale kol almin V'sovev kol almin Umi baladecha Ein shom metzius klal Memale kol almin V'sovev kol almin Umi baladecha Ein shom metzius klal Lord, you fill all worlds and surround all worlds. And Lord, without you, there is no world at all. Lord, you fill all worlds and surround all worlds. And Lord, without you, there is no world at all. Lord, you fill all worlds and surround all worlds. And Lord, without you, there is no world at all. Memale kol almin V'sovev kol almin Umi baladecha Ein shom metzius klal. Okay, if I don't put the guitar down now, it's gonna be bad. Maybe it'll be a good one. I don't know.
Would have been very good. I was kind of thinking maybe you're just going to run through the whole sheet.
I don't know. Right, this is the last year we have in Adar Aleph. So just to mention these names for the last time, such a bracha to Cheved that sponsored the whole month by the Eagles, Leilu Nishmat Tzivya Bracha Bas Elia, Zichron Livracha. Anonymously in honor of the coming of Melech HaMashiach, by the Americans in honor of their son Yaakov Akiva, completing Nachyomi and protection of their son Hillel Tzvi Yehuda, the Chayal HaKadosh, the weekly sponsored by Michael and Cindy Levy in honor of Dani and Liza's 19th anniversary, and the safety of all of our Chayalim and the refuah of the Ptsuim, by the Reinitzes, appreciation for Nashim Tzadkanias in the community, by the Hanekman family for the refuah Shlem of Eli Yashir ben Hadassah Elisheva Beila. And breakfast this morning is sponsored by our dear brother David Brenner, who went out to run right now in memory of the Yortzeit of his Abba, fourth Yortzeit, Yitzchak ben Nachman, Stefan Brenner, He was a lover of the Jewish people and a Baal Chesed of the highest degree, So Neshama should have an Aliyah. And we're going to complete today, Be'ez Hashem, the Maimer we began last week? Last week we started this, yeah. And hopefully by next week we'll have Be'ez Hashem the Sfarim that are going to be coming in. If you can't be quiet, he's got it. Okay. So I want to focus really deeply, Chavra. Finish off this Maimer without, just, there's so much going on. I need everyone's concentration. We want to get to a certain Nakuda, and we have a lot of Achonos before Shabbos. But we began learning last week with this gorgeous Maimer of Rav Biderman. This gorgeous Maimer of Rav Biderman by Kaddish also, the Kedusha of Shabbos. What we began speaking about last week was how Shabbos, bringing in Shabbos early, thinking about Shabbos, calling out Shabbos as a Shmirah. If that's true that it's a Shmirah during the week, how much more is that true that that's a Shmirah on Shabbos itself? That's part of the beauty we're learning last week. All the Chevra in the back, please have Rahmanis on me, please. Chevra, I'm going to be very honest. Like, all Shabbos, I'm working my brains out, voices, brain line. I don't want to speak louder than this. If everyone in the back can move forward, even if you hear me, when I see you sit back, I automatically start speaking louder. So please just come forward. I'm begging you. Today, every time, please. One of the gorgeous things we saw last week was how he explained to us one of the reasons that you have to stand up before someone that's old. He says, "Mipnei seva takum." He said, because you're standing up before someone that went through many Shabboses in his life. I love that word. He's saying, no, it's not just that you're standing up because it's an old person. An old person means it's someone that under his belt, he's got a bunch of Shabboses. Meaning he's experienced a bunch of Shabboses. You stand up before someone like that that's been through a lot. You walk by every Yidel in Eretz Yisrael, an older person. By any older Yidel in Eretz Yisrael, you stand up before them. What do we know? Bichlal, the Shabboses they've been through, the wars they've been through. You think you're worn out right now? You think we're worn out right now? What do we know? There's Chevra today that they've been through Gehenom back and forth a million times. So you stand before them because of what they've had to gone through in this world. Here he's saying you stand before an older person because they've been through so many Shabboses. Like what Shabbos does in the world once a week, they've been through that so many times. There's a Rishimu of that. That's a person that has something to stand up before. And that was one of the things we said. Now that on the page that you have in front of you, we're up to on Daf Vav. You have Daf Vav? Af, you see the paragraph, it says, Af hu mochiach ken shelechol abriya yesh la aliyah b'Shabbos, v'afilu ba'alei chaim. All of creation goes through a transformation and ascending upwards on Shabbos. Everyone, even the animal kingdom, shaharei, and this is beautiful, ein malinis atinok im bayom hashmini. We know one of the reasons why we have Shalom Zacha, one of the reasons why it's 8 days in the world, only on the 8th day a kid is circumcised, because they have to go through one Shabbos in this world. There's a lot to talk about that, but we'll save that when we're in desperate need for good Shalom Zacha words. Okay? So there's a lot to speak about that, but he's saying that just like you don't circumcise a child unless it goes through 8 days, Ki'im bayom hashmini, but now he ties it to something Gavad, v'chayotza b'zeh, en habehema reuya lalos al gabei hamizbeach, ele im ken tieh bas shmanas yamim. So too with the korban. It only, what's the lashon on the pasuk? Does anyone remember? Umiyoim hashmini v'hala yeratzeh. Right? That's the lashon of the pasuk. From the 8th day on, that the behemoths in this world, then it's wanted as a korban. So he says, so too in Havdil, but so too an animal has to go through this. V'amvur, huh? Yom Hashmini v'hala means and so on. Umevur hatam b'chazal. So it's brought down in Chazal in Vayikra Rabbah. The Midrash says, "Dechaze ape matruni tchila." It has to see the face of its mother first. Meaning it has to go through some kind of a. I looked in this. There's a wild medrash from Baker Rabba over there. It was saying some amazing things about why the connection between a kid that goes through a bris has to have 8 days in this world. A korban that comes in, it's getting sacrificed, has to also go through this. But here, the chazay ape matruna tchila, it has to first have some kind of a. It has to go through something in this world before it could actually be on the level that it could be a korban to Hashem. V'lamadnu. She'af ba'alei chaim she'ein b'hem das mishtonim l'ma'ayusa b'Shabbos Kodesh. Even animals that don't have any das, even in them something changes. If you look at the footnote in Tess, he brings a Torah from the Koritzer, Reb Pinchas Koritzer. That's basically the Indian of Shtreimelech on Shabbos. Why Hasidim wear Shtreimelech on Shabbos? What are Shtreimels made out of? Right? So, without going into that, but Rav Kook was the one that said that there won't be animals, there won't be korbanos, the way that we know them in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. Why? Because unlike this world, that there's no das in Baalei Chayim, he says, when the Pasuk describing Yemesel Mashiach says, Umala ha'aretz de'as Hashem, that the whole world will be filled of God wisdom, he says even the animal kingdom will have godly wisdom in them when Mashiach comes. Like the whole world will be filled with godly kingdom. And therefore, you can't sacrifice that because it's so on Shabbos you have this little bit of like a taste of like, I'm not sure, he's not saying that animals suddenly have godly kingdom on Shabbos, but there's a change l'maliyusa. Even in animals there's a change l'maliyusa on Shabbos Kodesh. Re'eina ad heichan hadvarim megim. Look how far reaching these words are. Kosav Hagan HaKodesh Reb Yonasan Eibshitz Zchus Yagen Aleinu. The Matzinu Stira Bazar HaKodesh, we see a certain contradiction in the Zohar. Mi Gadol v'nizgav mimi. Who's higher than who? Ha'im ha'anashim asher ba'aretz heima, o malachim ma'ale v'sarfei elon. Who's higher? People or angels? Who's higher? People or angels? V'amaskana Bazar HaKodesh, she'achen b'yemos ha'chol, ha'malach oimed b'mala yosir ma'yehudi. In the weekday, who's higher? A malach is higher. Ach b'yigia yom ha'Shabbos Kodesh nis'ala Yehudi me'ala srafim ha'omdim imal. But then a Yid comes on Shabbos and he's, all week long we're like, hey, angels. And then first thing I do when I walk into my house after I acknowledge the angels, I say, bye-bye, angels. Tzeichem l'shalom. Why? Because I don't want to have an imagery of me that angels are lower than me, which is what happens on Shabbos. So I say, tzeichem l'shalom alachi hashalom. You could leave now. Because we've gone over here, and I still want to have a nice imagery of you malachim. But I don't want it to be uncomfortable. Tzeichem l'shalom alachi hashalom. Because on Shabbos, I go even higher. Al pi zeh, this is Gewalt. Al pi zeh mefarish mai dekamar bilam b'shvachon shel Yisrael. One of the words that came out of his mouth was ka'es ya'amer le'Yakov uli Yisrael ma pa'al kel. Ace, ka'es, in this time. What is ace? What is ace? He says, in ace, remezes al Shabbos Kodesh. This time, this specific time, is alluded to Shabbos Kodesh. Yia ace hayedua v'agdola. Uka'es b'yom HaShabbos. Ya'omer le'Yakov. What will be said to Yaakov? Sho'alim malochei ashores l'Yisrael. The angels are asking us, Yedilach ma pa'al kel. Meaning, tell us about God. Understand? Ka'es on Shabbos. Ye'omer. It will be said to Yaakov. Who will say to who? The angels will say to us, Yedilach, tell us about the world for real. As much as we think we know how things work during the week, we see that you have something that we have no shaykhs to. So on Shabbos, each angel comes up to our Shabbos table and says, can you teach me what it really means that there's one God in the world? Now that's like, you could either, there's two ways to digest that Torah. One is like the sweetest, this beautiful voice. But on the other hand, when I read this, I was like, wow, this is intense Musa. Because I have to save myself at my Shabbos table. I have to stop at my Shabbos table and say, hold on a second. If an angel would walk up to me right now, right, first of all, would they be enticed to ask me at this moment, can you tell me something about God that I don't know? Or if they come into our shul on Shabbos, like an angel comes into the shul and says, okay, Ka'es, now, Ya'amer le'Yakov, I have something to ask you. Ma pa'al kel. What is the Ribono Shel Olam really all about? So we should have the schus that at Shabbos table, and our shuls and every aspect of our Shabbos, we would feel so comfortable that any moment the Malach would come up to us during Shabbos and say to us, okay, I know you're much higher, give me over something. Tell me a little bit what it means, what this whole thing of God means in this world. We should have the confidence that we just by our actions, we'd be able to tell them things that is exactly what they're looking for.
Could we connect this maybe when Moshe got the Torah and he went up to Shemaim and the angels asking him why do you deserve the Torah? All that happened on Shabbat, and he was at the level that he's speaking to the angels and advocating with them.
Interesting. Last week we learned it a little bit differently. Last year we said when the angels, basically everyone knows the Torah was given on Shabbos, like you said. And then it says the angels came down and said, Torah mahi, hechanhi. Where's the Torah, right? So Rav Biderman is saying, what do you mean the angels don't know that the Torah was given? No, because they have no shaykhs, because they're mekatrigim, usually, right? If the Torah was been able to give over, it was because it was on Shabbos, and they were put to shluf. They have no shaykhs to it. So, al-achas kama v'chama, מה זה? Al Satan. Al Satan. Okay, slicha, Al Satan. So now touch it to this. So an angel on Shabbos, what shaykhs does he have? Based on this? So since he's lower, let's darshan it out. Because Nachon, he corrected me, it was the Satan. So if it's the angel, what is his, he has to say, maybe Hashem said to him, Tzeischem l'sholom, when Shabbos came in there for Shabbos. So I have to give the Torah now, it's not your Inyan right now. So Tzeischem l'sholom, Shabbos comes, I give Yidden the Torah on Shabbos, and now what?
And now it's you have no place. It's Moshe is able to.
Yefeh. And then every single Shabbos, that's a reenactment of that. Yefeh mod. Mipnei Yisrael, third line from the bottom. Mipnei Yisrael omdim b'mala gvoa yoser malcha yasharis. Valken hem mivaredim etzlam ma pal kel. Since Yiddelach are on a higher level than Malachim and Erev on Shabbos, they have to come to us and say ma pal kel. And I said this also about Yisrael. Like a good way to know if your Shabbos is on is if you imagine that Yisrael, the real seeker, right? The real Oved of a Dazar, but the real seeker was still trying to see what Yidden are all about, to see if this is really the emes and wanted to join. Would you be proud to welcome him into your shul for him to get a taste of what God is all about? So it's a sweet voit, but it's a musadig voit, very. So it's the same thing over here with the malachim. Would you feel comfortable if they would ask you ma pa'al kale or not? Yeah, you want to say something on it? I thought your hand was up. Okay. So this is now we're going to a voit. It's one of our favorite voits because you've heard it so many times. Rav Kodesh Achidush Yarim Tzchus Yogen Aleinu Amar B'Lashon HaKosov, and it's a beautiful thing to say this Shabbos as well because of Parshas Shkalim. Ki Sisa Es Rosh B'nei Yisrael, when you lift up the heads of Am Yisrael B'nei Yisrael, She'im Tisa V'Tarim Tevas Rosh Timtza Shabbos, right? You know this word. If you take the word Rosh and you lift it up by one letter in the alphabet, Reish becomes Shin, Aleph becomes Bet, Shin becomes Taf, right? Ha'osios Habos Achar Osios Rosh, Ki Achar Reish Shin, Achar Aleph Beis, Achar Shin Taf. L'lamed. Shebechol Shabbos v'Shabbos Zochin Yisrael l'Nesias Rosh u'leYisrael Mos Gdola v'Rabba. What we experience, it's basically alluded to in Lechadoidi as well. What we experience on Shabbos is Yisnardi Ma'afar Kumi. Livshi Bigdei Sifatech Ami. All week long, it's true. It's gullus. It's hard to. It's. I was thinking about it this morning during davening, unfortunately, because I wish I was just only with the words, but my head went somewhere else, and I was thinking, what a whole nother week of stagnance, of just like, hostages are still there, another few Yidden get killed, and we're making Purim plans. It's like, I wish we all protested before the Ribbon Shleilim and said, we're not reading the Megillah this year until you finish the Megillah. What Megillah do we have to read? A story about what happened so long ago? It's like as if in Shushan, they would have gotten to Perek Daled, and they would have celebrated Purim. So that's the weekday thoughts. But Shabbos comes, and I'm already tasting Me'in Olam Abayim Shabbos Menucha. Somehow, I believe they're out of it, and we're out of it. We're out of it. So on Shabbos, I have an Esiyas Rosh, Kisisa Rosh. I lift up my head And this world of Shabbos is waiting for me, where there's no stilas, there's no machlokets, there's no anger, there's no reshaim. There's no reshaim in the world.
I thought about it. It all happened in Shabbat, you know.
Now what happened? Asher Gam Kara b'Shabbat.
Yeah.
Al achad kama v'chama, שאנחנו צריכים את זה פי 1000 כפליים, בדיוק מהסיבה הזאת. כי איתה מהארי הקודש זכוס יגן עלינו. What does the Arizal say? שבכל שבס משה רבנו יורד ומעטרס ישראל, וישם הכסרים שזכו למעמד הר סיני. וניטלו מהם לאחר חטא העגל. Every single Shabbos, we've learned this before, Moshe Rabbeinu comes down and he readorns us with the 2 crowns that we got when we said Nasa v'Nishma, and we lost when we did Cheta Egel. And Moshe Rabbeinu comes back and places it on our heads again. But what does that mean? What does it mean he places a crown on my head? He lifts up my head. Is that every single Shabbos, Moshe Rabbeinu comes, Lech v'hodiyam, like we started learning with Rav Biderman. Lech v'hodiyam, go and let them know, go and connect them to what Shabbos really is. Every single week, Moshe Rabbeinu comes and says, you're worthy of these ksarim, because you know that the real you would say Nasa v'Nishma right now, and would be so embarrassed of any Cheta Egel you've ever done in your life. You'd never do it again. And we believe that. You know, every Shabbos comes, we have these oros, we believe we could make it this time. And that's a real thing. You know, then by Sunday afternoon, we're not so sure of if we experienced anything. That's what we're going to be speaking about right now. But in the pnimius of it, when Moshe Rabbeinu comes to me and he puts that keter back, those 2 crowns on my head, I believe it. When I dance Friday night, I dance because I believe Moshe Rabbeinu came to me and said to me, you're worthy of receiving the Torah again. I don't doubt you, Moshe Rabbeinu. All week long, I doubt you. On Shabbos, I don't doubt you. You're giving it to me. I think of Am Yisrael. I say, we're Ra'ui. During the week, I look at the Am Yisrael, I look at the world, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But on Shabbos, I don't ask that question. I'm in it. We're Ra'ui. The Ksarim are back on our head. The crowns are back on our head. The question is, how long does that last? But it's probably based on how much do I just let it be on Shabbos and not doubt it at all. Bichlal. How much I lift up my head. V'yevuar, b'yoseh. Alpi mashe because of Orach Chaim HaKadosh Sham, Levar Inyan Ki Sisa Asrosh. Anyone see the Orach Chaim last Shabbos? Amazing Torah. V'zeh leshono. Ki achote gorem becheto kfifas rosho. Every sin, what's the primordial sin? What was the first sin that ever happened? That's not a trick question. It's the Nachash, huh? Right. Now, what was the result of the Nachash? Like, what was his aftermath?
He eats dust.
That means he's always down, right? Al gecholcha telech, right? It means he's always down. He's always by the dust, right? You know what happens to us every time we sin? Mamash kfifat rosh. We're heading towards the snake, where the snake is.
It says, "Hu yishufcha rosh."
Tatashvenu ekev, right?
That snake is gonna push down your head.
The snake, and the energy that the snake initially brought down to the world reappears every time we fall, right? And that's during the week. That's what the Orach Chaim says. Every time achote gorem bechet'o kfifat rosho, ki b'chinas hara mahusa hi el eretz tabit kishvelahi. The evil, bad, what does it look to? It looks down. It always looks at the ground because it knows, emet and its pnimius, that's where I belong. Down. Ubchinas HaKedusha, Yisa Hashem panav elecha, the aspect of Kedusha, he nesias rosh v'haramas hamos v'ha'echus, is lifting up the head and lifting up the essence of who I really am, the content, the quality of who I really am. Ad kan l'shon HaKadosh. Chederach shenemar, like it says by Shlomo HaMelech, in Kohelet, mi yodea ruach b'nei Adam, ha'oila hi lemala, v'ruach ha'behema, ha'yeredes hi lemata. The wise man knows the spirit of man is always in an up, bemet, when it's faithful to itself. Just being real emes dekayid and being good people. The kivun is like this. The behemius, the animalistic energy, is always driving us to look down. Not in a humble way, but in a low, humiliating way. Ub'Shabbos kodesh zoche kol Yehudi l'nesias rosh klapei mala. But Shabbos, like we said before, he's snarly me'afar kumi. Kumi migdash melech ir melucha. Kumi tzei mitocha afecha. Rav lach Shabbos be'emek habacha. No, 6 days was emek habacha, sitting there crying. Now it's about getting up. Hainu shechozer lekamut shehaya bivchinas adam. I come back to be a man again, not like an animal that's always looking down. Bivchinas harava behema shebo. So beautiful. That opportunity is there for me every Shabbos. But Chevra, how do we hold on to it? How do we hold on to it? Why do we show up sometimes Fridays with such shmatas? Such shmatas. Maybe it's just me. Every week, such shmatas. Like I remember last Shabbos was a gewalt. What happened? So look what he says. This is the best way, mamash, to go into our Shabbos this Shabbos. Zeh haklal. Yachkok es hashpa'as hakdusha bekirmo leman yamdu yamim rabim. You have to engrave that feeling, that moment, when you realize, I have no idea how I'm doing this, but suddenly, it's like Friday afternoon, the house is on fire, my wife can't even look at me, and I'm embarrassed because she hears the same excuses every week for whatever. My kids, the whole thing, I wasn't Messiah, anything I thought I was going to finish this week. Bills, all these things, all different shmiras. Again, another week it wasn't there, and here I am dancing, and I don't feel like I'm being fake either. I feel like I'm being real. What's going on over here? Boom! Pin drop. That's you. That's Shabbos meeting you. That has nothing to do with you. That's Shabbos. Shabbos does that to you. Nesias Rosh. Shabbos lifts you up. He says, take that moment, engrave that into you, pin drop it in a very, very deep, powerful way, in a strong, strong way, harp on it. Go back to it throughout the whole Shabbos, strong as you can. Shelo tehei zos rak kedusha l'shaisa. This shouldn't just be a moment of holiness for its time. Elagam lemachar u'le'achar zman. But afterwards and afterwards and afterwards and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. You know, you could have these moments with Shabbos Dika moments during the week. I had a beautiful Shabbos Dika moment this week. I bought this beautiful sefer called B'nai HaTzemach Tzedek. It's like the whole book. Have you seen this? It's a gewalt, huge book, just on the 7 sons of the Tzemach Tzedek of Lubavitch. And it describes what they looked like, what they wore. They were all Rebbes, more or less, although one of them died very young. But really, only the youngest one, Rav Shmuel, but the Maharash was the one that should continue the line. But they all wore white adornments and silk, kind of like silk streimelach, white silk streimelach. They looked very, very different. And it's amazing that sometimes when you just read about Kedusha, you're pulled out of whatever you're in during the week. It doesn't matter what's going on. You're just pulled out of it. And I remember, like, this morning, a lot of things were happening during davening. I was remembering also just thinking about what the imagery that I had in my mind when I read from this book, what the sons used to look like. And it pulled me up also from the moment that I was stuck in a second before. If that's true during the week about a story, how much more is that true about the Kedusha of Shabbos, which is Kviyah V'Kaima, that is so potently atomic explosion, just mitzad atzmo.
How do you keep holding on to it on a Thursday? On a Motzei Shabbat, on a Sunday, I understand. But Thursday, already when the week has come and beaten a little bit, how do you still grasp onto something?
I don't know. How do you do it?
I don't.
Rav Shlomo said, the way that we do it is that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, if Shabbos was Shabbos, then I'm still reeling off of what was. But by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, my nose already has to be by smelling the Shabbos that's going to be. There's obviously tactics and different stuff that each person can do that works for different people. But if we're really living from Shabbos to Shabbos, as much as we joke about it, the weekdays do become a bechina of Chol HaMoed Shabbos. It could be. It could be.
The Gemara brings a famous discussion between two Tanoim, one who every day he had plenty and he'd go and he'd buy, this will be for Shabbat. And
Beis Shammai and Hillel.
right. And the other, whatever I have, I'll have. But the whole week was focused according to their means, according to their
Nachon.
situation in life.
Nachon, nachon.
Even this morning, we learned in the Kuti Halachot here at 7 o'clock, Rav Nachman was talking about, according to the Zohar, how the 3 days prior to Shabbos and the 3 days post Shabbos are all B'china of Chesed. I guess it's 72, and it's 72 hours. He's talking about the Sha'ot, and we're all trying to connect to this form of Chesed, which happens on Shabbos because there's no din on Shabbos. And basically, at every point in our lives during the week, we're either in Shabbos, so we're in Shabbos right now, that's coming up, and by Wednesday already, we're going to be in the next Shabbos. But we're all pulling and trying to mamtik din from this place where there is no din.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, Giffen.
In trying to identify those moments of kedusha, I feel like I can relate to that happening in the moment. Like I find looking for it, it's almost like the floater in your eye. The moment you draw your attention to it, it's gone. And so, how to pursue it without actively pursuing it.
Listen, it happens mimela, even if you don't pursue it. That's the whole chap with Shabbos. The weekday is about pursuing. Shabbos on itself is. I'll give you an example. I was learning it this week. There was a mimer in that booklet of the ones we love. It was one of the mamorim that said like this: everyone knows there's mitzvahs that the whole body is mishtatef in, right? What are the mitzvahs that your whole body does? Sukkah, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, mikvah, not for men before Beis Hamikdash, but yeah. But there's another thing that our whole mitzias is in, whether we're in a sukkah, or in Eretz Yisrael, or in a mikvah, or anything. Shabbos. So Shabbos is an island, like Heschel said so beautifully, it's an island in time. Those other places are islands in space, but Shabbos is an island in time. It happens whether you like, that's what we were saying last week. It happens whether you like it or not. The only thing is, can you just let it be? Shabbos is not about pursuing it. It's about just letting it be. Kivo shavas mikol melachta. The asiyah of Shabbos is the non-asiyah, right? And it's a different, it's completely, contrary to the way that we usually understand pursuing things, doing things. It's completely different. But the shaila is still in its place, because what does it mean to engrave that? Because that seems like to be an asiyah, right? So how do you engrave a letting go? It's a good shaila. It's a good shaila.
It relates to your shiur from the week, to get it to be in the supraconscious and not just in the conscious.
There's a lot of different elements we can go to. I just want to finish this piece, okay? Because it's
real quick. Maybe from what we learned last week, on a Thursday, if we're struggling, maybe just screaming Shabbos a couple of times.
Truth is, last week was very much Lamaisas over there, screaming Shabbos, just screaming Shabbos. Ultimate, like Yossi was saying, Chesed. You're basically saying, screaming Shabbos is screaming for Chesed out of nowhere, and like it happened by what was it, Bei Amra? Amram, Nura Bei Amram. Right, there's a fire in the house of Amram. Right, Nura Bei Amram. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Fourth line. Ukidichsiv sheishes yamim yaseh melacha v'yom hashvi Shabbos Shabbosam kodesh laHashem. Rashi. What is Shabbos Shabbosam? The Shabbos of Shabbosing. Menuchas margoa v'lo menuchas aroi. We learned this one time for the Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter. What is the difference between menuchas margoa and menuchas aroi? So margoa means super chill. Okay? That's really what it means. Like super chill. What's aroi? Shpilkas chill. Aroi is temporary, right? Diras aroi, the lashon from Sukkah, right? The aroi, there's two different types of chill. You could have people that are so anxiously keeping Shabbos. No, this is now the time that we're not on our phones. So therefore, everyone, just be here now. That kind of, right? I don't even know. Is that menuchas aroi? I don't know what that is, That's, like I say, like I quoted with my friend David Ingber, PTGD. That's post-traumatic God disorder, right? That's not it. Menuchas margoa is that the menucha that I'm in right now is really seeping in. You know, I think I shared this with you, before we had Tiferet, we were married, this was the first year of marriage, and I think I forget what it was, we went away one night to somewhere, there was a spa there, and you walk into the first room, we're just floating, about to be parents, like Shana Rishona, the world is, you know, it's all rosy, we're living in this gorgeous basement apartment in the Dekel overlooking the vineyards, and it was just like mamash, an island in reality, okay, of the whole existence of the universe. And it was right before mamash, like a week before we had Tiferet, and we walk into this place, and we see they show us. So here's the exercise room, here's the cheder ochel, here's the reception. You have tea here and everything. Okay, I'm telling you, every room was filled with people who were actively on vacation. Pursuing relaxation to the utmost. Mamash. It was so not menuchas margoa at all. None of them. Nothing. Everywhere we looked, there was people escaping from whatever they thinking this is gonna. They have all the money in the world they need, but now they need to make sure they're also fulfilling this. That's the healthy one, right? Shabbos is something else, but you could even do that on Shabbos. Yossi and I spoke about this many times, and I got out of it, although Yossi loses from it, is that I used to show up to shul with 500 pages of printouts of Torahs and emails, and, you know. And then I realized at a certain point, if I didn't get through all of them at a certain point during Shabbos, I felt like I wasn't doing the right thing. Like, wait a second, it cannot be. It just can't be for me that if I have like 30 different printouts of what every single Rav says, that I should be a slave to it, you know, and that only if I get through it, then I'll feel like, you know, it was starting to affect me. But little did I know, Yossi was loving the stuff left on my stender after every davening. Once in a while, I'll still bring in something, but that's not really what it's about either. Menuchas margoa, can you be it? Can you just be there? Can you just do it? Now, I know it is harder with little kids, these kind of Torahs. Bemet it is. It's not so pashut. Bemet, it's not, because we know Shabbos is the day that could kivyachol wear you out more than any other day of the week. But be'emet, that's just from the outside of it. In the inside of it, it's the day that gives you more strength than any day of the week. The koach you put into Shabbos is a margoa for the nefesh. Understand? The koach you put into Shabbos creates that inyan of rest to the soul. We're just obsessed with rest for the body. As if anyone really works like they used to work back in the day, where you really felt Shabbos when you came in. It used to be you come into shul, every single person in that room was working 9 to 8 every single day, physical labor. Shabbos came in and it changed it, right? It's not like that today. You have very few people that are actually working full 9 to 5 jobs, and even amongst those, they're not exactly physical labor today, the way that it used to be. So what is this thing that we're plugging into on Shabbos? That every koyach I put into Shabbos, whether it's davening, the eating, the zmiros, the learning, in the world of Yom Shekulo Shabbos, creates a margoa in my nefesh. It creates the calm in my soul, not necessarily the calm in my body. I don't know, like sometimes Shabbos comes out, and my kids are like, Abba, we got to go to parent-child learning. And I'm like, I hate what I'm feeling right now. I don't want to say this out loud, right? But it's an avoda. But really, if Shabbos was really Shabbos, and you take that hemshech of Shabbos into the parent-child learning, it's a different parent-child learning. At least it lasts from Motzei Shabbos. But again, menuchas margoa is different than menuchas arai. And that's what he's saying over here. That's what Rashi says that Shabbos is all about. V'advarim stumim v'chasumim. Not so clear, he's saying, what Rashi means. Shemait kaven Rashi lomar b'dvarav elu. What is Rashi telling us? Mai menuchas arai, mai menuchas margoa. What's the difference between the two? Bir Rav HaKadosh Tzfas Emes Chis Yagen Aleinu Shelo Tehi Menuchas Yom B'Shabbos Rak Menuchas Arai. The rest that you experience on Shabbos shouldn't be temporary, meaning only for Shabbos. Ulizmana K'mo Leima Shabbos Bilvad. Ela shetehem menuchas margoa af lechol yemos hashavua. Like Matitya, what you're saying over here, the way you Shabbos should essentially have an effect on the way that you experience life and the world throughout the whole week. V'shashpas hakdusha shel Shabbos tamshich gam l'sheshes yemei ha'ma'aseh, and the holiness of Shabbos should pour out onto the rest of the week. Look at footnote Yud Beis. Harav HaKodesh HaImrei Chaim. Anyone know the Imrei Chaim was Vishnitz? The Imrei Chaim Schissel again Elena Mefarish B'derech Tzachus Mashanemar. He would say Derech Tzachut means like a cute vort, right? But sometimes those cute vorts are the biggest daggers. So whenever it's like Derech Tzachus, don't expect a joke. It may sound cute, but then you'll realize, my God. Mashanemar Vayhi Bayom Hashmini. That's what we say in the beginning of Parashat Shmini. Vayhi Bayom Hashmini. V'arei ein Vayehi ela lashon tsar. And whenever we say the word Vayehi, that's a lashon of tsar, of pain, of anguish. Ma'u tsar shayasham. What do you mean? What kind of pain was there? What was by the way, what was Bayom Hashmini? What happened on Yom Hashmini?
Moshe's last day of Miluim.
It's about to be Akamas HaMishkan. Like, what's tsar is going on over there? Why are you saying Vayehi? So we know that Nadav and Avihu is about to happen. Like, there is tsar that happens over there, definitely. There's a lot of different chazals explaining what the Vayehi is, but in our context, he says, Ela shebe, ma'u tsar shayasham. Ela shekol Shabbos tzricha lehavi ruach chizuk v'yischachus. This coming Shabbos should have nothing to do with last week's Shabbos. V'shemikocha yaschil ha'adam michadash belo shum hemshech v'shayachus la'avar. And that my entry into a new world begins on Shabbos would have nothing to do with what was until this Shabbos. B'yom rishon b'Shabbos yeh rishon v'lo shmini l'shavua kodem. Sunday shouldn't be the 8th day of last week. If it's the 8th day of last week, it's Gewalt Vort, huh? It's Gewalt Vort. It's an answer to the question. Well, no, he doesn't answer the how. It's the answer to part of it. But if Sunday is Shmini to last week, then Vayehi. Then Vayehi. Then Vayehi. Ve'en lecha tsar gadol mizeh shehaya b'yom hashmini. And the truth is, if your Sunday is the 8th day, not the 8th day like we're looking forward to, the 8th day, but if it's 8th day from last, Hayom Yom Shmini b'Shabbos, Hashem Yirachem Anas. Hashem Yirachem Anas. So I want to give us a bracha that to take opportunities, take advantage. I say this all the time. I can only vouch for what I take responsibility over. I don't take responsibility for anything that happens outside the shul. I can only take responsibility for what happens here. And we're providing opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Every day of the week, throughout the day, and now on Shabbos even more. For instance, this Shabbos, where Be'ez Hashem will have a Gewalt Shalashudis again upstairs. Those are moments that can take the Menuchas Margoa, lachkok, to engrave it in a way that Chas v'Shalom, Sunday shouldn't be Yom HaShmini. Sunday should be Yom Rishon, and like that we'll lift up ourselves. Ki Sisa Es Rosh will lift up the face of the whole nation, because we're still unfortunately mamash stuck in a mundane level. When we say the hostages should come home, but obviously we mean you should wipe out evil from the face of this earth, and whatever evil we need to wipe out from within us, we should be zocher to do it through the kedusha of Shabbos, and zocher that the whole world should taste Yom Shekulo Shabbos Me'ein Olam Haba.